Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. It's Wednesday. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is doing well. I have a really cool show. Today I have author Katharine Giovanni with me, and she has a book titled The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. And it's going to be a really good conversation because I'm sure, if we live long enough, there's going to be somebody we need to forgive, or we need to forgive ourselves for something. So I'm excited to speak with her, and she's going to join me in just a couple of minutes. To my regulars, thank you so much for being here each week. I love you. I appreciate it so much. I get your messages. It means the world to me. If you're joining me for the first time, I want to say welcome, and I hope you enjoy the show today. And you can listen to any of the shows in the archives on Om Times Radio. There's always a description of the guests that I have and what we're going to be talking about. And you can also find all my shows on postcardstotheuniverse.com under podcasts. And it's on your favorite podcasting platforms too. So you can always find them. You can always find them there. I just wanted to tell you guys, especially for the newcomers, that my background is I am an artist. I'm a photographer. I'm also an author. I have a book titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And what I did with my book was I have people creating manifesting postcards, kind of like a vision board. And so when somebody taps into their creativity and puts all their energy and what they want and the visuals of what they want to manifest, I photograph it. And then I would share their story in my book when it showed up in their reality. So it was really fun doing the book. I have a lot of writing exercises about getting clear on what we do want to manifest and, all the big areas: health, love, relationships, career. And it was such a delight doing the book. And I'm still always getting postcards. So if you want to create a manifesting postcard, please do. You can find out how to do it on postcardstotheuniverse.com, and you can also see the address. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me and I will help you. We're having a big show, an exhibit here where I live I live in the Sailboat Bend Artist Lofts in Fort Lauderdale. So there's 26 visual artists. We have a couple performing artists, and I have all my Postcards to the Universe work up on the gallery wall. So if you're in South Florida and you want to come to the reception, it is February 21st from 6 to 10 p.m. And if you need any information, just reach out to me. But I'm posting it all on my social media. Okay, so let me get to my guest today, because I really think this is an important conversation. Katharine Giovanni is a 3-time award-winning best-selling author, speaker, and one of the original founders of the independent concierge industry. Katharine has authored over 12 books, including her latest release, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. Katharine's journey is one of remarkable resilience, surviving stage 3 breast cancer and overcoming the hardships of a turbulent childhood. Her experiences have shaped her deep understanding of forgiveness and personal transformation. Join us as she shares powerful insights and life-changing lessons that will leave you feeling inspired and empowered. Whether through her books, speaking engagements, or consulting sessions, Katharine is dedicated to helping individuals and organizations tap into their full potential. Her approach is refreshingly practical and deeply transformative, making her a sought-after voice in the fields of forgiveness, intuition, personal empowerment, and the concierge and hospitality industries. For more information, go to her website, KatharineGiovanni.com, and I'm going to spell it because she spells Katharine with an A, so it's Katharine. Giovanni, Giovanni.com. Welcome, Katharine. Thanks so much for being here with me today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to talk to you because I really think forgiveness is super important and one of the, if not one of the hardest thing to do. So
It is.
how did you get into the work of forgiveness? I'm assuming it's from your own personal experiences, right? It's always that way.
To be a forgiveness coach, you have to have a plethora of crap in your past that you have to overcome.
Right. True.
Right? So the problem with forgiveness is everybody and their uncle tells you have to forgive. Your parents, your teachers, your pastors, everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody teaches you how. Nobody teaches you how. And what if you don't want to? Then what do you do? What if it's something that's completely unforgivable? Then what do you do?
Exactly.
So what I do is I teach people the how. And it stems from a pretty dysfunctional youth. And I was terribly bullied in school, tried to commit suicide in the 8th grade. And I turned into one of those teenagers. Everybody knows one of those teenagers. And I kind of just bounced through life, to be honest, until my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital because even she couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital, bless her heart. So she dried out. And we spent the next 3 years closer than sisters. We were tighter than tight. And we forgave each other. And we did everything together. And then she died of breast cancer. And everybody listening, everybody has a flashpoint. And you don't know it's a flashpoint when you're going through it. But when you look back in your life, you can look at it and say, you know, that was the day it all changed. Well, when she died, I realized that if I didn't change, I would probably die too. So it was the only New Year's resolution I actually ever kept. I've been sober now for 35 years. There we go.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. But in that beginning stuff, you're supposed to make amends and you're supposed to reach out to people. Yeah. And I am an extroverted introvert now, but back then I was painfully shy. And we didn't have texting. I would have happily texted these people easily, but we didn't have it. All you could do is write letters and call. And I had no intentions of calling people who were going to yell at me. So I didn't. I just paid lip service. Yeah, I forgive you. You son, I paid lip service to it. And it wasn't until I kept doing it. And the more I paid lip service, strangely, the better I felt. So I kind of got some feeling into it. And I went through breast cancer. I have been breast cancer free for 12 years now. And in 2020, I finally figured out exactly the step-by-step method to forgiveness. And I used to teach it in business because I am a concierge trainer, and I can't teach you to be warm, friendly, and approachable if you're angry inside, because the anger is going to bleed through your body language. So I had to teach forgiveness in business as well, because people are going to notice, unless you're George Clooney and you can hide it. Not everybody has those actors.
Yeah, those actors, right? Because they have the skills. They're always pretending, right? But
that's right.
It's interesting because we all know it, right? All you have to do is drive and during rush hour, and you can see people who are angry everywhere you go, right? Yeah, so there's so many people that are just full of rage and anger and resentment. And
that's right.
You may be the receiver of that because of a situation happened, but you're not the cause of their own, it's their life, whatever happened to them in their life. So I think forgiveness work is so important, because I imagine when you're doing the forgiveness work, a wonderful byproduct of that is you're working through your anger and your rage and your resentment at the same time, right?
And you feel better. The thing about forgiveness is 10 out of 10 people listening to this right now on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable dumpster fire and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, every single one of you is thinking of your number 10 person. The one person and event you don't want to forgive. Yeah. And that's fair. Everybody automatically thinks to the most painful thing. But here's the thing. I don't want you to start with the most painful one. I want you to start with the easy ones. Right. I want you to start with the people you would label a 1, a 2, or 3. Start there. And as you forgive these really easy people, you're going to start to feel better. But the thing about forgiveness is there's a couple things that people think. First of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. Right. And here's the big one. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving in and giving you a pass. It does not mean that I'm saying you were right and I was wrong. Absolutely, 100% does not mean that. Forgiveness means I want you out of my head. Period. Yeah. When I forgive people, it's not doing anything for the person I'm forgiving because they're off living their life and doing what they want to do. We're the ones miserable. It's like Buddha said, anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. Right. It's true. That is the hardest one, though. That is it. That what you said. You think, and it's really hard because I've been there myself, getting around that. Saying that I forgive you is like saying it's okay what you did to me or how you hurt me. But it isn't. And it isn't. Yeah. No. So how do we change that, switch that energy around it or that thought around it or emotion, whatever it would be? I have a method to forgive the unforgivable. So let me share the actual method. And one of the things that people, they'll come up to me all the time and they'll say, well, Katharine, I did do the work. I did forgive them. But then I saw them at a party or I saw a book that reminded me of them and then I got triggered again and it took me a week to come off the feeling. How do you remove those triggers and get them to stay forgiven? Well, Einstein clearly, I have a whole chapter on science in the book. Einstein clearly proved energy is neither created nor destroyed. So when you get angry, you think that anger just dissipates into the universe. If you think about it at all, most of us don't. It doesn't. Right. It hangs around your energy field. And everything on our planet, including the phone I'm speaking into, has an energy field around it. Everything. Yep. So when people don't stay forgiven, they didn't forgive the energy. You didn't forgive the energy around the person as that final little piece. So I'm going to have people sit down with a piece of paper. And yes, I understand everybody wants to use their PC or their tablet or something like that or their phone. But there have been hundreds of thousands, and I'm not kidding, studies done that something magical happens when it goes from your brain and you actually physically write it down on a piece of paper. So find a piece of paper and a pen. And I want you to write down all the people you think you need to forgive. And the unforgivable people are going to be right at the top of that list because that's who you're all thinking about right now. And I'm going to teach you how to forgive the unforgivable in a minute. But I want you to write them all down from the time you were in the sandbox in kindergarten to present day. And then I want you to rate all these people from 1 to 10. Now, you could have 20 number 4s. I don't care. You could skip a number. I also don't care. But I really want you to rate these people from 1 to 10. And then I want you to start with the number 1. The person who's really, like the person who stole your parking space in the grocery store yesterday. Come on, people, you can forgive that person. The person who cut you off on I-95, you can forgive that person. They were late to work. Come on. Yeah. You can forgive those people, right? Yeah. And I want you to be alone. Your phone has an off button. I know people don't understand that, but if there is an off button. I love the silent button. I use it all the time. And I don't want the vibrate because if your phone dances on your desk, you're gonna pick it up. Yeah, so I want your phone off and I want you alone. You do not have to reach out and call these people. That's the beauty of it. Forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. Nobody has to know you're doing this. Nobody. Yeah. So I want you to imagine the person is standing in front of you. And if it's somebody from childhood, I want you to imagine the childhood Fred as you knew them, not the adult they are today. Put your hand in your heart to remind you to speak from the heart, because the words are really just for us stupid humans. It's really the energy behind the words where the magic is. Yeah, absolutely. And then I want you to say, I completely forgive Martha, to use an example. I completely forgive the energy around Martha. I completely forgive myself. I completely forgive the energy around myself. I completely forgive the energy around the entire situation. And so it is. Amen. Go with God. End it any way you like.
Okay.
And then imagine that they leave the room. Now check in with your body. Did that number 1 go to a 0? Great. Cross them off. Did that number 1 go up to a 7 all of a sudden? Ooh, why did that happen? Because your brain is a brilliant tool and it protects you. And forgiveness is like an onion. It's also like gravity. It's going to work whether you believe in it or not. It doesn't care.
Yeah.
So what you just did is you forgave that first layer. And instead of being completely forgiven, you unearthed the back closet of your mind, and your brain is going, oh, wow, Melissa's ready.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to flood her with memories she doesn't know she has. So now you got a brand new list.
Yeah, it makes perfect
tool.
sense. It makes perfect sense. And I always think that too, like forgiveness doesn't happen all at once. You forgive a little in stages, right? Like, so especially something that's so horrible, that was so traumatizing. Some people maybe can do that. Most of us, I think, forgive a part of it at a time, right? Like you said, it's like peeling an onion. And I love the fact that you said that there's the energy around it, and that energy never dies. It just transforms. And that brings me back to reading the works of like Louise Hay and Dr. Joe Dispenza, talking about how our emotions, especially trauma emotions or unforgiveness, how we store it in our energy field, and then it can manifest as a dis-ease in our body. Did you find that when you were doing the work helpful for your own recovery?
I did. And there's a study done in Japan called the Japanese water study. You can Google that and you'll find it right away.
I know it exactly. I have coasters that all say love and laugh and blessings, and that's what I put my water on. Yeah, every day.
Well, for those people that don't know what the study is, I'll say it fast and simple. Yes. He took several containers of water. All he did was speak to the water. That's all he did. One container of water he spoke love to. The other container of water, absolute hate, awful things. He then froze the water and he put it under a microscope. The water he spoke love to had these beautiful formations. The water he spoke hate to had these awful, nasty formations. The human body is over 95% water. So when your self-talk is bad, when you're angry and holding on to all that negativity, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your body?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's why they say anger is toxic. This is the how. You're literally changing the cells in your body. And when you forgive, you're going to be transforming those cells from dark to light. You're literally going to be changing yourself from the inside out.
Yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense. And when I would read Louise, and she would talk about how certain cancers would manifest in certain parts of your body, that there was usually a significant, like when, women, if women were sexually assaulted, many times they would get cancer in their uterine or cervix, or, because that is where the trauma, part of the physical trauma happened, right? So it just kind of like clicked in my head, right? Like it clicked. So even though I know all of this stuff intellectually, now how do I incorporate this into my emotional body? Because that's where we have the problem, right?
I can help. Let's take the unforgivable.
Okay.
I do believe there are certain people and experiences that are truly unforgivable.
Yeah,
100%. And you'll never get there. There might be a unicorn person on the planet who can get there, but we're probably not that person. But there are also things, there's always a part of that memory that you can forgive. Now, first of all, because you don't have to reach out to people when you're forgiving, this means you can forgive dead people. Because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick, because they're alive and well in your head. So let's take one of my unforgivable memories, the bully in school. And I couldn't forgive the bully in school. In fact, I wasn't even sure I wanted to forgive the energy around her because I was kind of mad. And I was in my 50s thinking about something that happened when dinosaurs roamed. It's ridiculous. I shouldn't be thinking of something that happened, in the never mind what year it was. So, but yet I was. So pick apart the memory. Since everything on our planet has energy around it, I forgave my childhood school and the energy around the building. I forgave the table, the desk, the chair. I forgave the kids who stood around and didn't help. I forgave the swing set. I forgave the ground. I forgave the date on the calendar. I forgave 1974. Why? Because that was the year where it was at its pinnacle, and I tried to commit suicide. That's when it was the worst. I picked apart the memory, and I haven't even forgiven the bully or the energy around the bully yet. I forgave everything else within the memory. You're never going to get a number 10 person down to a 1 overnight. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Many, many people call this shadow work because you're working in the shadows of the past. But you can get a 10 down to a 9, and I still haven't forgiven the bully yet. But I've lightened it up a little bit because I'm forgiving other parts of the memory. And then you can go from a 9 down to an 8. And it took, for example, it took forever for me to forgive my father. And I started with memories of when he used to keep us, when he was drinking, he used to keep us at the table after dinner, what seemed like weeks. And I'm sure it was just hours, but, you know, it seemed like forever. So I couldn't forgive my dad, but I could forgive the dining room table and the chair I was sitting at, and I could forgive the food that I was eating. I'm actually not kidding. And I could forgive my childhood home and the energy around all these things. And I started to feel better. So when you start to forgive, you're going to start to feel better, even if you're only forgiving the 1s, 2s, and 3s, and you're not even getting to the dumpster fire at the end. You're going to start to feel better because the cells within your body are going to start to transform. And coffee will smell better, and you're going to notice things. Why are you noticing things and paying attention to money-making opportunities or your greatest, you know, significant other? Because before you were paying attention to your anger, it was all you could think about. It was in your thoughts. But now you've actually released some of those thoughts, so now you can pay attention to, I don't know, other things. And we haven't even gotten to the higher numbers yet.
Wow. That makes so much sense to me. And I just had an aha, like when you were talking, because it never occurred to me to forgive maybe the place that something happened, the date that something happened. Like, yeah, because I've done a lot of forgiveness, and I wouldn't say I'm at a 0 with my ex-husband, but oh my God, I was at a 10, and now I'm probably at, I don't know, like a 2, you know, which to me is really good. So I'm, you know,
that's good.
Working on it. Yeah.
That's good.
So, but there was a place we lived in, and it was a very small town, and I haven't been able to, every time the thought of going there again, I get that feeling, like that tightness. You know, because that's where the trauma happened. And it never occurred to me to forgive that. Never occurred to me. Guess what I'm going to start doing now? Because why should that, the energy around this town? Like the town has nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Like,
it does.
But
it does
because it happened there, right? Yeah.
I had to forgive the town, and I'm not going to say the name of the town, but just because people live there. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I had to forgive the name of I had to forgive this town because every time I went to that town, I would be triggered by memories.
Yep.
And I had to go through not just one memory, but a lot of memories. And I would forgive each piece as it came up. I had to forgive the state where he lived. I had to forgive all these things. You can forgive anything.
I'm going to start working on that to see if I can even bring it down further. You know,
that's amazing. Forgive anything. You can forgive dates on the calendar, cities. You can forgive politicians, dare I say. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. But if it's pissing you off in your head, you can forgive it. Your football team loses last weekend, you can forgive the team.
Right. Well, it makes sense because everything is energy. So my energy affects everybody else I come in contact with, right? And then so on and so on and so on. So truthfully, that's why they say if you want to change the world, you start with yourself, because just your energy shifting, you know, could have a direct effect on the person you interact with, energy shifting, and it just progresses and progresses and progresses. So who wants to walk around, resentful, angry, and rageful all the time and fantasies? I mean, I don't know, maybe a lot of people don't, but revenge, because I've had revenge fantasies, you know what I'm saying? When I've been really hurt, I'm assuming other people do too. That's a terrible energy to be in.
It's normal. Who hasn't gone on Facebook and seen their childhood bully, and the childhood bully, let's say, broke their arm or their leg, and you're saying, karma.
That's what you get, karma. Yeah, I always say karma all the time.
Is this a nice thing to say? No, but we're all human. We're all human. But let's talk about some of these things. I get some, and don't email me, but a lot of the time it's men, and they will say, "Well, I'm thinking of one person in particular, obviously, but he came up to me and he said, I've made a lot of money in my life, and I built it on my trauma. I built it on my hate, and I used that as a springboard to get me where I am today." Okay, let's talk about that. You can get there. You have a choice of 2 trains. You can take the express or the local. Both will get you to your destination. But the local is going to be painful because you have to stop at every single solitary stop. It's like taking an elevator and wanting to go up to the 75th floor, and some punk kid has pressed every single button between 1 and 75. And by the time you get up there, you're a wreck. You still got to your destination. But wouldn't it be easier to take the express? I can get there twice as fast and twice as far with love and forgiveness than I can with hate and resentment.
Let's pause right there.
The other way.
Yeah, let's take a pause, because that's really an interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting idea, because we don't think of it like that. All right, guys, stay tuned, and I'll be back with Katharine in just a couple of minutes talking about forgiveness.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, Creating the Life You Crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on Om Times Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, Creating the Life You Crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
Welcome back. If you're just joining me, I have author Katharine Giovanni with me today, and we're talking about forgiveness. And she wrote a book titled The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. And she is helping us with tools so that we could finally start forgiving so we can have a better life, right? Because that's what we all want. So
That's what we want.
the man who came to you, what we were talking about before, that built his business on anger and rage. What did he want to start forgiving? I mean, was he coming to you as a coach? Did he hire you for like, it's time now to forgive, or what was his perspective?
I do a lot of podcasts, and it was a podcast. And a lot of men come up to me, and some women, to be honest, and say, I have nobody to forgive. Okay, sure. Let's talk about it. The Super Bowl was this past Sunday. Did your team win or lose? Did they lose? Forgive the football team.
Right.
You were on the road the other day, and somebody cut you off, and you said some really blue cuss words. Are you angry?
Yeah.
Forgive them.
Yeah.
Did the cup of coffee spill on your shirt right before a presentation?
Oh my God.
Forgive the coffee. And if you still are not with me, I want you to say the following for the next week, every night before you go to bed. I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. Say that 3 times a night, every night for the next week. And I guarantee you, well, I don't like to guarantee, but I'm pretty sure that back closet of your mind is going to open up, and you're going to start thinking about people. Oh yeah, maybe I should forgive that person. But let me give you just a few warnings. When you start to forgive, there's a couple things that are going to happen physically and to your friend circle. Physically, your water cells that have turned brown have to go somewhere. So I want you to do this before bed, because your body is going to heal itself when it sleeps. And when people do this process, most people get super tired. So that's why I want you to do it before bed. Some people get thirsty. Some people, I'm going to politely say, are in the bathroom for a few minutes. It's not a piece of bad fish. It's just your body is trying to clear away decades of crap, literally. I do all my own exercises, and I did this exercise, and I created a list. It must have had 50 people on it. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm a little bit of an overachiever. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to do it all at once. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to be like an angel rising from the dust. I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and everything's going to be magically gone. Okay. Didn't actually work out that way. Shocker, I know. And I did forgive many people on the list, but I also spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. And it's because I forgave too many people, and my body literally had to play catch up for a few days. So please don't do more than 10 a night. And if you're doing a person in the higher numbers, like the 8s, 9s, and 10s, only work on one.
Yeah,
only one.
That makes sense.
And then the other thing that's going to happen is, like energy attracts like energy. So as you become more joyful and more happy, and you start to come back into your authentic self, you're going to be attracting people into your life. People that want to see you succeed. People that are also happy. You're going to be drawing in that energy. Okay, that being said, on the other side of the coin, you're going to have some jackrabbits. You're going to have some people that are right now in your life that are all of a sudden going to ghost you. They won't tell you why. They're just going to go. It happened to me. Like 6 people just vanished. And then you're going to have the people who look at you and say, I liked the old Melissa. I thought she was terrific. And it might be family, close friends, people you live with, and they might try to sabotage it because they want the old you back. So it's up to you as you continue this process. The jackrabbits, they might come back. Do you accept them back into your life? That's up to you. The people who are trying to sabotage it, what do? Do you keep them in your life, or this is all choices you're going to have to make. But for what it's worth, the new people coming in will be phenomenal.
Well, yeah, because we're also raising our vibration. So we're getting to when you raise your energetic vibration, you're a match for those things that are on that same vibrational level. So if you are happy and joyous and it's genuine, you can't fake it. Like everybody thinks like, oh, I'll just pretend. No, you can't. The universe reads your energy, right? So you'll be meeting more people, more situations come into your life. And I talk about that. Like doing the postcards is fun. I love it. It's fun. But if you're not working on yourself, Also, you can make a million postcards. It doesn't mean anything. Like if you think every day I hate my life and I hate everybody, but here's a postcard. Yeah, it's not going to work. You have to like do the work too. So I think that's like this forgiveness is so important. So I want to ask you this question. I have heard this thought, and it also resonated and made sense to me, that sometimes the people that have hurt us the most, actually, if you think about it in a universal way, love us so much that in our life they played a part of so that we would learn, because we wanted to grow. We wanted to grow. We wanted to learn forgiveness. So somebody had to be this monster in your life to teach you so that you could forgive, because that's what you wanted to master. And I heard Wayne Dyer talking about this when he was talking about his father, his biological father, who he never met. He hated him his whole life. Hated him. Angry. He was drinker, everything. And then when he finally decided to forgive his father after he died, he never actually got to meet him. He realized he was his greatest teacher. And I thought, that's so interesting, because I don't think we ever think about it like that. What are your thoughts on that?
There's a book out. I'm actually very, very, very intuitive. It's actually why I was bullied in school. And I don't like to use the word, I don't like to use this word psychic, but I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant, and I get past life information for people all the time. There is a book called The Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. It's being billed as a children's book.
Oh, okay.
It's billed as a kid's book. It is not the kid's book. And it actually tells you exactly what you just said. Because we come back into this, we've had many, many lives. Sometimes we are the abuser, and if we were, then we come back in the next life as the abused. And my father came into this life to be a thorn in my side. And a fellow psychic said, well, she was a medium. She said, I'm seeing your father right now. He does not look like the guy that you've been describing to me, because he was playing a role. He was playing a role. And this happens all the time. But as you raise your vibration, things are going to happen. And some of these people will leave your life. But, you might have the person in your life who is the biggest thorn in your side might have just might have agreed before they came down here to be a big thorn in your side. Yeah. But we've all been good. We've been bad. We've been everything. This is not our first go round. Right. Yeah. Not even a little.
And when you think about it like that, it does kind of soften the I can't think of a word, sin that the other person committed, let's say. I can't think of a better word than sin. Because but what happens is intellectually we can grasp these ideas, right? We grasp them. Oh, that makes sense. But then when we're having an emotional experience, like all of that goes out the window. We're like, F them. They did this to me,
Well, it's also the ultimate of intergenerational trauma, because when you have a really, really, really bad trauma in a previous life, like a good friend of mine called me up at 3:00 in the morning, and they were crying, and they were a federal law enforcement officer, and they weren't really crying, but they were so upset. And you can't be that when you're in the law. And they weren't sleeping. They couldn't sleep. They tried everything. They tried, you name it, they tried. And they said, listen, Katharine, I'll do anything you say. So 3:00 in the morning, and I was barely awake, and all of a sudden I get a hit, and I saw this couple in bed in a town, and the guy was a sheriff in the town, and I watched as his wife smothered him with a pillow.
Oh my God.
And he was a beloved guy in the town. And after I revealed this lifetime, we talked about it. Then we did my forgiveness mantra on the entire lifetime and the people in that lifetime. And afterwards, he started to sleep through the night, and he even started to date again, because he didn't trust women most of his life. Some of the traumas you're having now, like you're scared of heights, well, you might have been pushed off a cliff by somebody in a previous life. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Because I don't, I have this fear of flying, and it's gotten better. So, but it was really bad for a while. And I always wonder if I was that age and was in a plane crash or something, because it's like I've passed it. So I'm still not very comfortable. I don't really like it, but I'll do it. But I remember there was a period where I was like terrified, of getting on a plane. And I always think
I could tell you, I know we're live on the radio, but I could tell you what lifetime it is. I get these messages whether I want them or not.
Yeah, tell me.
You know the Wrights brother plane. You were not one of the Wrights brothers, but you know that kind of plane, that early kind of plane.
Yeah.
You were a young man who took his young wife up. You just learned to fly, and he got into a updraft, and you crashed, and everybody died.
I can totally see that, because every time I watch anything about those times and I see those people getting those planes, my thought is they're nuts. Why would they ever do that? That's crazy. I would never want to be one of those people.
It probably leaves you cold too.
Yeah, because it's just like that grips your throat, like that, so that makes sense.
But that's the thing with these kinds of traumas. Even in past lives, this trauma, this energy has to go somewhere, and some of it dissipates, but most of it doesn't, and you carry it with you. And the only reason you're thinking about it in this lifetime is because you're finally ready to clear it. That's usually when people find me, is when they're ready to clear whatever it is that's been sabotaging them, and you could be like that young man who tried everything. He tried every doctor, he tried every book, he tried everything. And that's usually when people find me, because they'll say, listen, I'll try weird stuff now.
Yeah. We'll try the alternative stuff. Let me just, I don't know if it'll work, but it can't hurt. I've tried everything else, and that's when you get people to sort of expand their mind a little bit, right?
And when it comes to energy, when you're not vibrating the same way, you're gonna attract people, but you're also going to they're gonna be unattracted too. Here's a really funny story. It's very true too. Some friends of mine, and we went to this restaurant, and the woman came up to our table and she politely took everybody's order, and then she got to me, the color drained from her face, and she took a step back. I'm a concierge trainer, and I train customer service. At least I used to. I've retired from it. So my concierge training kicked in, and I smiled at her, and I politely gave my order. She ran back to the kitchen, and I thought maybe she's behind. I don't know why she would run like that. Well, she came back with everybody's food, and she politely, mind you, put everybody's food right next to them the way you're supposed to, until she got to mine. She went to the other side of the table, and she threw this plate like a Frisbee across the table, and then ran back to the kitchen. And I fully expected her to come back with holy water or something and sprinkle it on me. She was so scared. And my friend leaned over and said, it's your energy she's scared of. So, the brat in me was real tempted to just look at her and go, boo, next time she came near me. But Did you
talk to her ever to ask her?
No, she fled.
No, so
she fled.
It just manifested that blatantly. Wow.
Yeah.
We've all had those experiences where you meet somebody and you don't know why you don't like them, but there's something about them you don't like, and they didn't do anything to you, and they may be really nice, but there's just something energetically where your body's going, no, something's off here.
Everybody on the planet is intuitive. It's not just me. Every single person on the planet is intuitive. That's another book I wrote, because of course I did, The Little Bird in Your Shoulder. And we either see it, feel it, know it, or just sense it. Like you walk into a room and it just feels off. Or you hire somebody and their resume is perfect. They're dressed great. They said the right things. And 3 months down the road, you're like, I knew I shouldn't have hired that guy. Yeah. That was a little bird in their shoulder. We ignore it most of the time.
Oh, I don't ignore it at all ever anymore. I don't ignore it. So I want to talk a little bit about self-forgiveness, because I think a lot of times, we're always looking outside of ourselves, right? Like they're the problem, they're the issue, the world's the issue, I live here, that's the issue, that politician's the issue, that guy who messed me up is the issue, my mother's the issue, my father, whatever, sisters, brothers. What about ourselves? Like, what do we need to do to forgive ourselves for mistakes we made, maybe how we've hurt other people, how we've betrayed ourselves, how we've, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that self-forgiveness has to be a very important part of the work, of forgiveness work.
We all hold a lot of guilt about some things, right? This is the first book of 3, and I'm actually writing the second book as we speak, and it is all about how to forgive yourself. Because quite often we are our own number 10. We are the unforgivable person on our list, and we write ourselves at the top. So my answer to that is I want you to take it in bites, and I want you to treat it like you would anything else. So we pull apart the unforgivable things. Well, if you're unforgivable, I want you to pull apart your life. And I want you to pick out a memory where you feel ultimately guilty. Well, I know you're not ready to forgive yourself. And I'm pretty sure you're not ready to forgive the energy around yourself, but you can pick apart the memory. Let's say it's a Thanksgiving dinner and maybe you got drunk and you said a bunch of bad things and you hurt a bunch of feelings. Okay. Well, who hasn't had a holiday like that?
Exactly. That's why I'm laughing. I'm picturing a few of them.
Not really a stretch, is it? Right. My mother used to say every family's the same, only the names are different. I'm not entirely sure she was that wrong.
I don't think she got that wrong either.
No,
she's right.
But what I want you to do is pick out that memory and forgive other pieces of the memory. Forgive the person you did it to, believe it or not, and the energy around that person. Forgive the table you sat at and the chair you were sitting in. Forgive the clothes you were wearing, not kidding. Forgive the food and the table. Forgive the building you were in. And that's it. And then wait 24 hours and then do it again. And then pick out other things within that memory. So now you might have gotten that 10 down to a 9, and at some point you'll be able to jump it down where maybe I can forgive myself and stop feeling guilty for what happened in the past on that particular date. You dial it back. And then if you have a lot of stuff, I took my whole life and I looked at the kid in 8th grade who tried to commit suicide. Was it my fault? No, I had a bunch of stuff going on. And I forgave everybody in that memory. And then I finally forgave myself. Now, they do say forgive and forget. Well, I'm originally from New York. We're not forgetting anything.
No.
And
they don't forget either.
No.
No.
But I can promise you that if you do this, you'll remove the emotional charge. So you can look back at that memory and it won't trigger you anymore. You're not going to think good or you're not going to think bad. It's just, there's going to be nothing there. So I can look back in my childhood now and I could probably regurgitate the bad things. I use that word purposely. I probably could bring up all of that stuff if you wanted me to, but I honest to God don't really remember it as well anymore. And now I see the love that was there. I see the adults that were trying to help that kid. She did the best that she could with the tools she had. She had to survive. And she did her best. She didn't know any better. She was a kid. And now I can see the love that was back there. And that's my memory has now been replaced by these moments I see in my past. I could look at my ex-business partner's name on Facebook. It happened to me about 2 years ago, and I heard names just randomly came up, and I stared at it, and usually I would get triggered. Nothing. Yeah. And it shocked me. Good. It shocked the hell out of me. I was sitting there saying, wait, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I was absolutely shocked out of my mind that I was not angry.
And that's such a good place to be. I mean, we may need to forgive ourselves for an opportunity that we didn't take, right? It could be something like that. Or forgiving ourselves for trusting a person, not listening to our intuition maybe, trusting a person who hurt us, you know?
Yeah. And you can forgive the person, you can forgive the energy, you can forgive the word trust. I completely forgive myself for not trusting and the energy around this thought. When I say everything is forgivable, you can mix the words any way you like. It's all forgivable.
It's all forgivable. Yeah. It's just like, I really like that idea of forgiving all the things around the situation. to sort of help you kind of like chip away at that, because
chipping away. It's like
never occurred to me. It never occurred to me to do that.
It's like an ice sculpture. You got to chip away the ice, and you got to, have a little artist's eye, and you chip away this, and you chip away that, and then your gut tells you to chip away that piece, and before you know it, you have a work of art. How did you do it? Your gut told you where to go. So let that little bird on your shoulder drive you when you're creating your list of people you think you need to forgive. Don't judge what you write down. A really good friend of mine wrote down on her list when she did it, she wrote down a little red wagon. She didn't remember a little red wagon, and she didn't even know why she wrote it on the paper, yet there it was. And she labeled it a number 1, because why wouldn't you? And she forgave the dumb thing. And she still to this day doesn't know why she had to forgive it, but something in her memory, there was something back there
there's something there.
Something was
there's
there.
Something there.
So don't judge yourself when you're writing your list. No judgment.
No judgment. No judgment. Yeah. Do you do a daily forgiveness exercise, just a general thing, like just to keep you working on it, or?
I do.
You do? What would you recommend us to do, like on a daily basis?
Well, humans irritate other humans. I'm always getting fresh source material to forgive every single day because we're human.
Right.
There's always something I can come up with.
And so right now, with the craziness that's happening in the world, my God, there's so much to forgive. Okay.
Just flip on the news. Yeah. No, I don't watch the news anymore because it's going to drive me back to drink. So I don't do it anymore. But what I do every night is I will first think of the things I was most grateful for that day, even if it's for a hot cup of coffee or the fact that coffee exists. That's what I come up with. And then I will think about people I need to forgive, places, and I allow my intuition to just let me know who I need to forgive. Now, I've been doing this a very, very long time, so I actually do it all mentally at this point. But when I was first starting, I had a pad of paper and a pen by my bed, and I would just write down the people that I thought I needed to forgive, never doing more than 10. And then the next night I would do it again. And I don't want you to do the same person more than once a night. If you can't get your number 5 and it goes down to a 4, don't do it right away again. Wait 24 hours and then do that person a second time.
Yeah, because let the work assimilate in your cells and in your energy, in your body. So how do we know it's working? How do we know that us working the forgiveness is working for us?
You're going to start to feel better. The world is going to look more colorful. I'm actually not kidding. You're gonna notice more opportunities. Your life is just going to start to magically start to work. You're going to feel better because you're not carrying around all this disease and this illness in your cells, and you're not going to care. And I mean this in a good way. Yeah. You're going to look at people who've forgiven, and it's not going to trigger you anymore. You used to walk into a bakery. You haven't been able to walk into a bakery in decades because every time you walk into a bakery, you'd smell chocolate chip cookies and you think of your mother and you were pissed off at your mother. Now you'll be able to walk into the bakery, smell the cookies, and actually want to buy some.
Yeah. No,
you're
that's
not going to be holding on.
God.
You're not going to hold it anymore.
Especially, smell is so closely linked to memory that if there's something that happened and there was a smell and you pick up that smell again, that will take you there in like a millisecond. So Katharine, if people are interested in getting your book, where can they get the book at right now?
You can go to Amazon, and I understand not everybody wants to read, so I do have the audiobook available that my younger son and I developed together, and we're still talking to each other, so banner day.
That's good. That's great. I love audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks all the time. Oh, that's great.
The paperback, the ebook, and the audiobook is available. And you can also go to my website, which is katharinegiovanni.com. And again, yes, my mother gave me a really interesting spelling. Thanks, Mom. And it's KATHARINE Giovanni.com.
Yeah, I have the same thing because my legal first name is Katharine with an E, and my middle name, Melissa, is spelled with one S. So I know my mother did the same thing to me. So yeah.
I saw that. Exactly. I thought it was funny. Yeah.
Thanks,
Did
Mom.
you give up on telling people 1S? How many years ago did you give up on the 1S thing?
Many years ago. Unless I'm doing something and it's being published, then I'll correct them. But if they're just like writing an email, I'm just like, forget it. Don't even worry about it at this point.
I'll tell people, spell it with a K and pick your favorite spelling. And they look at me and I said, no, I'm not kidding. Just spell it any way you like. I really don't care.
Well, I caught it right
website.
away because it's something I'm used to with my own name. And when I saw it, I go, I always make sure I spell everybody's name right because it happens to me all the time. So, Katharine,
actually,
go ahead. What were you going to say? No, I was going to say we have a minute left. Anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah. You are worthy enough to lead a life of happiness and joy. It's your birthright. You are worthy. You are worthy enough to have that great job and live in that great apartment and eat some clean food and be happy. Happiness is your birthright. We're not meant to live in a refrigerator box on a street. We're meant to live in joy. You are worthy.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to end. And thank you so much, Katharine. This was a really wonderful show, and I enjoyed speaking with you so much.
Oh, the pleasure was mine.
Everybody. Oh, good. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.